Daybreak at Susa. Adu woke up and quickly sat on the edge of his bed. He rubbed his face and tried to see through the darkness in the room. He could hear some noises in the compound. Outside, rainwater trickled down the corrugated iron roof into many containers. The women had left the containers there in the hope of that the rain clouds that hung over the little village of Susa would give way to rain during the night. Adu jumped up with a force that cracked the bed and woke his little sister. He was short like his father, dark in complexion like his mother, with a stubborn little heart with which neither his father nor mother could identify. He heard his father sharpening his machete in the yard. That was a sign that the day had already broken. It was Saturday, and Adu was relieved that there was no school to think about. He looked forward to the activities of the day with his father. He grumped for his farm clothes from behind the door. A tattered old school uniform, he opened the door. "Good morning, Papa," he greeted his father. "Did you sleep well?" Nemo responded, as he went on sharpening the machete on the rectangular sharpened stone near his own room. Adu said he had slept well. There were 10 rooms in that huge compound, house built so many years ago by the rich landowner who owned the cocoa and the village. Nemo and his family occupied half the house, 5 rooms. One room belonged to him, another to his wife and his 2 children. The third room was occupied by Mahama, the farm laborer he had hired. The fourth room was used to store foodstuffs and the farm implements. Nemo reserved the fifth room for visitors. All the cocoa farms in Susa belonged to the same wealthy landlord. They called him Yeboah. The man owned a big stretch of land with cocoa, palm and oranges. He did not even live in Susa as he had done some years ago. He came to the village from time to time to visit his farms, to find out if the caretakers were doing the work. Nemo and his households were not the only caretakers in Susa. Almost all the farmers they rented their land. "Where shall we go this morning, Papa?" Adu loved to engage his father in conversation at the least opportunity. Nemo raised the machete and felt the sharp end with the tip of his thumb. That was the way to tell if it was sharp enough. It wasn't, so he placed the flat side of the blade against the rough sharpening stone and continued more work on it. Adu knew his father hadn't forgotten his question. "I thought you knew where we were going, Adu." "To the rice farm, Papa." "To the rice farm?" Adu smiled. To the rice farm, he loved it. He loved to go there. He loved to go to the rice farm down in the swampy area. "Sharpen your machete, Adu," his father instructed. "Take a bucket and don't forget the matchbox. Bring some small hoe with you. It's in the storeroom." Nemo spoke slowly as he entered his room. Adu placed his machete on the stone and began to sharpen it. The door to Mahama's room opened. Adu looked up as his father's laborer, who was more a friend than a laborer to their family, walked out. He was ready for the farm. Mahama placed his thumb on the machete and nodded approvingly. He scarcely ever sharpened it in the morning. Every day after the day's work, he sharpened his machete. "It's better to do it in the evening," Mahama said to satisfy the inquisitive mind of his master's son. so that in the morning I don't spend the day's precious energy sharpening machetes. Nemo emerged from his room with his rifle slung over his shoulder. Adu saw it and nodded his approval. Nothing delighted him more than a hunting expedition with his father. He loved to run for the squirrel or antelope. When his father had shot it, and if it was an antelope, that was something. He would tell his friends about it and force them to listen to him as he boasted of his father's skill with a gun. And if they thought he was telling a lie, he would invite them to go with him one of the days, or better still, if they would only wait for him outside their house in the evening. He would bring them a piece of the antelope meat his father had killed on the farm that day. Nemo looked at his boy sharpening away. Take care, Ado. The way you hold that machete, you will soon be without fingers. I'm careful, father. Don't forget your little hoe. And make sure that the women come early. Nemo referred to his little daughter as a woman. Though Ya was only 10 years old, Adu didn't like the implication of the last sentence and stood in protest. Father, may I please come with you now? Ma and Ya will follow later. Adu's face told Nemo it was too early to disturb the boy's peace. He gave in. In that case, gather the items and let's be going. The rice farm was 2 miles away, in a swampy place where most of the farmers in Susa cultivated crops: rice, maize, cassava, plantain, and cocoyam. These were called food crop farms, different from the cocoa farms, which grew on the drier land. Some years ago, many people believed that those who were meant to be taking care of Ashanti farmers' cocoa farms were the people from the north. They had migrated to the southern region not only to extract money from the cocoa business, but also pick the preserved kola nuts. Kola nuts, it was said, cost a lot of money in the north. A bag of kola nuts, people said, cost 3 times as much money as cocoa itself. It was a more expensive cash crop. Nemo was an Ashanti, but he knew that the work some of his tribesmen had delegated to the people from the north was the work he could do himself. He did not feel embarrassed about looking after a fellow Ashanti man's cocoa farm the way some of his tribesmen did. He had left his town, Boama, 55 miles away to live in a small village of Susa. When he had come here 14 years ago, still a bachelor, he would hear insinuations from all corners. Nemo has gone to mix himself up with the northerners. What had disturbed him in those days was what people said about the girl he chose to be his wife. Birango's parents had lived in Mwama for a very long time. They had come from a foreign land, crossing the borders on foot with other itinerant traders. Birago was born and bred in Bwama. She was so used to the way of the life of the people in Bwama. It was not surprising when she fell in love with one of them. When the time came for her family to leave Bwama, she and Nemo advanced their plan and were married. In spite of harsh criticism, Nemo blocked his ears against the sneers and insinuations. At first, his decision to live in Susa was derided, but the years that followed told a different story. He ignored the insults and concentrated on his farm. Now he had become the envy of many. He was one of the most influential people in the village, as both a farmer and a herbalist. Nemo was tall and dark. People who saw him attack the weeds on his cocoa farm with a machete or saw him digging in the maize farm said he was built for farming. They reached the farm earlier than usual. Despite the rains of the night, the small stream that flowed at the mouth of the swampy area was not as full as Ado had expected. The wooden bridge, a big log that the farmers had managed to place across the stream, was clear above the water level. The last time Ado had been to the farm was a week before. Now he stood there gaping at the amount of work his father and Mahama had done. The maize stood erect, and the rice was green and dark. Some of the corn was beginning to tassel. The cassava they had planted about a month ago was already competing with the older ones kept from the previous farming season. The moment they appeared, 1,000 birds flew away in fright from the area where the rice was beginning to bear fruit. Some of the yellow birds, apparently daring and not wishing to abandon their booty, so soon perched on trees and palm fronds. You see, Nemo said. The birds are already harvesting the rice. You see? Look at them, Mahama said, pointing his machete in the direction of the birds in the trees. Suddenly, the 20-acre farm thundered with the flight of a canary birds. Just look, Nemo exclaimed as the birds flew above. It's time now to guard this farm from dawn to dusk. Otherwise, these birds will finish what little rice we have in the farm. Yes, I think so, Mahama agreed. The announcement excited Ado. He enjoyed watching the farm from dawn to dusk with Mahama and sometimes with his little sister. It meant coming to the farm before the sun rose and leaving it long after sunset. He liked to watch the red sun gradually sink behind the top of the trees, and when he went home, about the time of the hens were roasting, he felt proud. He felt like a man. He could sit then with his father, and Nemo conversed with other neighbors who paid him visits in the evening.